My name is Chitimbwa Chifunda. I'm the head of policy campaigns and communications at WaterAid Zambia, and I will be presenting on the topic of what makes budget advocacy an effective accountability tool. WaterAid Zambia, we have been working closely with a network of NGOs called the NGO Wash Forum here in Zambia, where we've been working with them closely on the topic of wash financing. And also we are currently jointly conducting a research where we are exploring accountability mechanisms of the national budgeting process in order to improve the WASH budget performance. And so we're specifically looking at the public financing to the WASH sector. So why we have picked this particular topic is because financing to the WASH sector in Zambia has been poor for a number of years. We did do an analysis of 10 years, and we did see that consistently the WASH sector in Zambia has been consistently underfunded, and for a number of reasons and issues that affect this poor budget performance, such as untimely disbursements of the national budget resources to the sector. They don't have consistent funding, and as a result, performance has declined. We are unable to meet our targets, and as a result, many Zambians continue to lack access to essential WASH services. And underpinning this inadequate investment is weak accountability, especially amongst those responsible for planning, policy making, and also delivery of the WASH services within government. But we also have other sector players that are part of the WASH ecosystem. And these problems are interlinked, which is underinvestment, weak governance, and accountability and underperformance. So in terms of some of the preliminary findings that we are finding about the budgeting process is that the budgeting process is participatory and does involve key stakeholders at all the different levels, so national, district, and community. When the districts are beginning to start their planning, they do consult the communities, and then they consolidate. They also have stakeholders that they're working with at district level that input into their plans. These are then fed into provincial and all the way up to national, into the Ministry of Finance through their spending agencies. And at national level, the Ministry of Finance does take submissions from different stakeholders, but unfortunately, they're not obligated to take these submissions on board. So whilst we as key stakeholders may be making submissions to the Ministry of Finance, there is nothing that mandates them to take on board our submissions. And we think this is one of the key gaps. We have a new government in place. One of the things that we have found is that the problem of finances being moved around for different activities. So where money could be earmarked for WASH, it could be moved to be used for something else. This is no longer happening. So there's no repurposing of funds or moving funds between budget lines, but funding that goes to the district levels should be used for what it was planned for. We also did learn, we were interrogating also the effectiveness of our advocacy activities. We've also learned that civil society organizations have helped to raise the profile of water, sanitation, and hygiene through budget advocacy and other activities that we do during our engagements. And therefore, this has also served as an effective tool. But also what we have found is that there's really a need to fully understand the budgeting process from end to end, right from when the districts are planning, the spending agencies are making presentations, to when the Ministry of Finance consolidates the budget, it presents the budget, Parliament approves, to when they start dispersing the funds so that we can influence at the right entry points. I think this was really critical as we have been doing this research. Another major challenge that has come up is the issue of coordination. It's one of the major challenges at different levels. At district level, we did find that there's a multiplicity of actors. On the government side, we do have a number of spending agencies or ministries that are involved in WASH. So we do have the Ministry of Water. We also have the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Education. We have local authorities or councils in other settings that are sitting under the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development. And then we have external actors like civil society as well. But you find that the coordination amongst these actors is not where it needs to be. And so we find that we're not leveraging on the resources that are available at that district level to really push on our targets for WASH. This is something that needs to be looked at so that we don't duplicate efforts, but also be able to make our resources go further. I think for us in our context, we also feel there's a need to clarify institutional arrangements because as you can see there are a number of actors. So you have Ministry of Health, which is looking at WASH in healthcare facilities. You have Ministry of Education, WASH in schools. You have the Ministry of Water, which should be looking at community WASH or other institutional WASH issues. And you have local authorities, but you find that they may not necessarily. You also have commercial utilities, which is a small mission, who are also a big actor at district level. So there is really need to harmonize the institutional arrangements at that level so that we can improve on the efficiency. Given that we have a resource constraint, we're in a resource constrained environment as a country, really need to efficiently use our resources. In terms of coordination, an additional thing is that at national level, there is need for stronger interministerial engagement between the Ministry of Water and the other key ministries like health, education, local government, but also more importantly, Ministry of Finance. So in terms of a conclusion, what we are seeing from our research is that budget advocacy works and can be used as an effective tool to improve public financing performance. We have heard from key informants that because of the work that civil society has been doing, WASH is seen as a critical development sector, and slowly but surely its profile is increasing. We've also seen that in our case, we do have a standalone ministry that was advocated for by different actors, and this has also improved the profile of the sector. We also see that coordination is really something that we need to improve on if we are to improve efficiency and use of resources. But also one of the things that did come up is what accountability really means. I think it's important that we all have a common understanding on what accountability means, because in some settings it might even be, what do you mean we are accountable? And yet, from our perspective as civil society, we see that there are accountability failures within the system. We are also seeing that these accountability mechanisms must be institutionalized and must go beyond political will. What we saw in the last regime is that financing to the social sectors was really going down, underpinned by a number of issues. But now we have a new government in place that seems to have political will, but it should go beyond the faces that are currently in government, but it should be institutionalized so that regardless of which party comes into power, government can be accountable for the resources that it has and the targets that it sets. Thank you so much. This is my short presentation on